This is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about the murder of Tabaris Sheats.
Yep.
And I am going to be talking about a person by the name of Robert Hansen.
Just a person, just some guy on the street you met.
He's a horrible person.
Oh,
and
geez.
I don't like him. And lots of trigger warnings.
Oh, great.
He's a bad man.
Speaking of which, do you know what we forgot to say last week?
What?
Welcome to spooky season. It's officially October. Or it was last week. Yeah.
Wow.
Welcome to spooky season, everybody.
Spooky season for me starts in September.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I decorated beginning of September.
Amazing. I love that for you.
And then as soon as Halloween's over, Christmas season starts for me.
Ew.
That's what everybody tells me about. I don't care. I love it. I love it. So my husband's favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. And for you Canadian listeners, our Thanksgiving is
November.
Yep. And it's the last Thursday of November.
Okay.
So it's between Halloween and Christmas. So he gets so mad at me because he's like, you just skip right over Thanksgiving. And I'm like, because it's the worst holiday.
No, it's not. You get to eat food.
I get to eat food at Christmas.
Yeah, but like you get to stuff your face full of yummy goodness at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you get to do that at Christmas too. And there's the whole magic of the Christmas season that you don't get with Thanksgiving.
I don't know how to respond to you.
I love it so much. Anyway, murder. So,
oh my God. Okay.
No. So I got my resources from a documentary. Well, not a documentary. It's like a show. It's called The First 48. I was not a fan of the show.
Oh.
But I watched it for you. And then also Wikipedia, Britannica, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super well-rounded. I love it.
It's not a long story. This one's actually really short. And I kind of didn't realize how short it was till I was like in too deep to like start over. But it's
fascinating.
Thank you. I didn't want to say like good because obviously it's never good when someone's murdered.
Yeah.
It's not really it's pretty straightforward. It's just sad. Anyway, okay.
A great start.
Okay. One night around midnight in Atlanta, Georgia, 911 dispatchers receive a call that shots were fired at a local car wash. When police arrived, they found 19-year-old Tabaris Sheats dead in the driveway. He was shot at such a close range that he had burn marks around the wound. Tabaris was young. Like I said, he was 19.
The fuck is going on with you?
I don't know what is happening.
Goodbye.
Hold on. Tabaris was young, like I said. He was a star basketball player before he dropped out of high school. And he had 3 young children that unfortunately were left behind after his murder.
All right, how old was he?
19.
He had 3 children.
Yeah. He was in for it, man. That's a lot.
You
3 kids.
Boo.
Yeah. That's a lot though. 3 kids. We're having our second one coming in and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, let alone if I was like 19. But you know what? More power to you, dude.
Yeah.
And Tabaris said there were rumors that he was telling people he was a member of the Bloods. So I'm sure everybody's heard of the Bloods, the Bloods and the Crips. But the Bloods is a gang, their main rival being the Crips. That's why you usually hear them together. They go all the way back to 1972. They've been around forever.
Really?
Yeah. So the Crips were actually around long before them, but they they started in 1972 by like a smaller street gang, and then they started to kind of fight back against the Crips, and then they had to be more violent because they were so smaller in number compared to the Crips. So they got like a really ruthless kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, Jessica?
Reputation.
Thank you. Yes, reputation. They're believed to be between 15,000 and 20,000 active members of the Bloods.
Holy crap.
Yeah. They're in 123 cities and 33 US states. They're primarily on the West Coast and the Greater Lakes region, which is like the Michigan region where I'm from, and the Southeast. They also have been documented to be in the military.
Wow.
So, yeah. They also operate in Canada.
Oh.
In Montreal and Toronto.
Did you say Montreal?
Montreal. How do you say it?
Montreal.
Montreal?
Yeah.
Spelled with an O.
I know.
Is it really pronounced Montreal?
Yeah.
I'm 35 and that's the first I'm learning of that. My whole life I thought it was Montreal. Like the seasoning.
Or unless we're like all just stupid and we pronounce it all wrong.
Well, I would assume that you would pronounce it more correctly than I would since you're Canadian.
I'm fairly certain they say Montreal. Montreal is how the French.
Oh, geez. Well, you learn something new every day.
That's what our podcast is for.
So at the crime scene, they found 3 shell casings around his body. And unfortunately, news spreads fast. And so his family arrived on the scene.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they were told that their loved one had passed. And they have the video because the first 48 follows around the detectives. So it's not like reenactments. It's like following around kind of like a cops, but not cops. And they had like the video of the mom finding out that her son was dead, and like her cry was heartbreaking.
I couldn't imagine.
Oh, I couldn't either. And the family says they don't know who killed Tabaris. They had no idea. But they did find a possible witness. One of Tabaris's friends said that he, his sister, his brother, and Tabaris were going to the store together. And after they left, 2 guys walked up. One guy was kind of standing in the shadows and he just shot. And he said Tabaris grabbed his side and yelled out in pain. And then the guy shot again. He said Tabaris hit the ground and his buddy yelled, his brother yelled, stop. Or sorry, the buddy yelled, stop. And the guy looked at him, looked down at Tabaris, and shot him again while he was lying on the ground.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And they asked Tabaris's friend, well, who was this? And he was like, Fred. Which made me laugh because I name everything Fred, like any like little thing. I'm like, this is Fred.
I always name them. My name is Carl.
Carl.
Carl's my go-to.
Fred's my go-to. He said the guy's name was Fred. He said he does tattoos and he knows that he just got out of jail for burglary. And the police said, how did you know it was Fred? And he said, because Tabaris said his name when he walked up, because he was like, hey, Fred, or, whatever he said. He was also able to describe the guy. And he said that apparently Fred confronted Tabaris because he was saying that Tabaris was telling everyone he was a member of the Bloods and he wasn't. And Fred is a member of the Bloods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So detectives started looking through their database for anyone with relations to gangs named Fred. And they found Freddie Talley, who was a Blood, did tattoos, and had ties to the area where the shooting happened. And he had also just gotten out of jail for burglary.
Oh my goodness.
So they create a lineup, and the witness, the buddy of Tabaris's, ID'd Fred as the shooter. Police issue an arrest warrant, but they can't find him anywhere. They look all through the night for him. They cannot find him. But then randomly the next day, he just showed up to work because like he had no idea that police were looking for him. So he shows up to work like any normal day. And there they were, and they arrested him.
Oh my God.
When they asked Freddie where he was that night, he said that he went to work and then he went home and he stayed there all night. He didn't leave. He said that he did hear that Toonsy, which I guess was Tabaris's nickname.
Oh.
He did hear that Toonsy got killed. Detectives asked if he knew Tabaris, and he said they weren't friends, but they weren't enemies. So like he knew of him like around. And they did say to him like, hey, we heard that you had an issue with him, because he was going around saying he was a part of the Bloods. And he's like, no, man, no, I didn't have an issue with him. And he asked Freddie if he was a member of the Blood. He actually specifically asked what set of Blood he was in. And apparently the Bloods have like different groups within them that are called sets. And each set has their own like rules and leaders and all that kind of stuff. So
it would have been, that's a really lost opportunity. Like it could have been cells, like blood cells.
That is a missed opportunity.
Right?
Oh, who's the leader of the Bloods right now? Can we talk with them?
No, please don't.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
But honestly.
Yeah, that is a really missed opportunity.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
I should start a gang.
You should. You call yourself the Bloods and you have cells. But then you'd probably get taken out by the real Bloods.
Probably.
So he asked him what set he was in, and he told him. And then he asked if Tabaris was a Blood too. And he said, quote, put it like this. There's a lot of people on the streets who claim to be Bloods who are not Bloods. You know, you might hang out with a lot of Bloods, so you just kind of say you're a Blood. Detectives said that they were also told that he did shoot Tabaris, and he said he had never had any beef with that kid. He swears to God, quote.
Then why would you shoot him?
He said, well, he's saying he didn't.
Oh.
And the detective was like, well, why are people saying you did it if you didn't? And he said, well, basically they're lying. Like he said, well, they're all lying. He said he's not a killer. Which, I'm sorry, if you're a Blood, I'm sure you've killed before.
Yeah.
Sure. So even though he didn't confess, they did have enough eyewitnesses to charge him with felony murder, which is surprising to me because they didn't really have any evidence. They just had the witnesses. But they did charge him. They charged him with murder, aggravated assault, criminal participation in street gang activity, threatening a witness in an official proceeding, and multiple weapons offenses.
Wow.
He ended up pleading guilty, and he was sentenced to life plus 15 years.
Oh.
And as far as I have looked, he is still in prison because this happened in 2014.
Wow.
So he's still in prison. And I tried to find more about like what made him plead guilty, what that witness charge was, that tampering with a witness.
Mm-hmm.
But there were, like I said, I used 1, 2, 3, 4 different resources, and there was just not anything. I think it happened, and then unfortunately people stopped caring because it was like gang related, and which is awful. But
or it just could have been there might be more involved.
Yeah.
So that could be why.
Yeah, that's true.
So
like I said, it was a shorty, but that was
interesting one.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
So that was it. That's all I got for that one.
That's it. That's all. So long, folks. But please don't go. I have a story.
Please don't go. Come back.
Please don't go. It's a horrible story. It's very interesting though. I've never heard of him. So,
and I can only imagine Oh, I won't give it away yet.
Why?
Well, because you told me like where he was located. I don't know if you want to give that away yet.
Esterville, Iowa?
Oh, you said you were doing an Alaskan serial killer.
Oh, yeah. I didn't. I think he is. Oh, he was born in Esterville. Uno momento.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, he was Alaska. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Because I was gonna say, I can only imagine what you can get away with in Alaska.
Is your camera okay?
I don't know. It's having a rough day.
Okay. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, because I'm ready.
Okay.
Robert Christian. Oh God. Oh my God. I forgot. Sources.
Ah.
All That's Interesting and the
mhm.
Washington Post.
Nice.
Yes. Robert Christian Hansen's father was a Danish immigrant who established a bakery, and he was born on February 15th, 1939 in Esterville, Iowa.
There we go.
Uh,
I don't know what my camera's doing.
He was a tough disciplinarian as well, and Hansen had a difficult upbringing. From an early age, he put in long hours at the family bakery. He was naturally left-handed, but due to circumstances, he was forced to adjust to using his right hand, which caused him to stammer for the rest of his life. Do we know? I know. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe because it's like just trying to rewire his brain.
Maybe.
I honestly don't know. I was very confused by that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. If anybody out there knows, let us know.
He was excruciatingly shy as a teen, suffered from severe acne, and faced ridicule for his stutter. He was ridiculed by the schoolboys, and the girls he admired turned him down. He was frequently referred to as a loner.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. He was a social pariah and found solace in solitude. Over time, he developed a passion for game hunting and used it as a way to vent his anger and thoughts of retribution.
That doesn't seem healthy.
No, it's not. Robert enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserve in 1957 when he was 18 years old in an effort to escape his turbulent upbringing and start over, which he did for a while. He spent a year in the reserves before moving to Pocahontas, Iowa, where he worked as an assistant drill instructor.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. He later married a woman he met there.
Aw.
Yeah. However, he continued to feel oppressed by the community and he sought revenge. At the age of 21, he persuaded a young bakery worker to assist him in setting a school bus garage on fire in 1960.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Later, once the boy confessed, Hansen was taken into custody. He was left alone and behind bars when his wife filed for divorce. Even though he served only 20 months of his 3-year sentence for arson, he was incarcerated several more times for petty theft. Nevertheless, he was able to wed a different local woman. Eventually, he concluded that he had had enough of the contiguous United States. Yeah.
I blame him.
He relocated to Anchorage, Alaska in 1967, which was as far away from his life in Iowa as it was possible to go, which was a small town. And he married and raised 2 kids there before settling into a tranquil lifestyle. He established a little bakery and he was well liked. Although the majority of the villagers believed the cheerful baker with a family and a talent for hunting, Hansen's pristine exterior had some flaws. He was detained twice in 1972. Once for kidnapping and attempting to rape a housewife, and once for raping a prostitute.
Oh my God, that escalated very quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awful. He's awful.
Wow.
He started his murdering rampage in 1973, unknown to the authorities, probably feeling more confident because he could get away with his first few crimes.
Yeah, well, I would think too in Alaska, like there's just so much land where you can do things and hide things and
Yeah. He was detained once more in 1976 and received a 5-year prison term for shoplifting a chainsaw.
oh.
Seems like a long time for a chainsaw, but
Yeah.
he was eventually freed after appealing that term, but he continued to prey on strippers and sex workers whom he coerced into fulfilling his depraved fantasies.
Poor things.
A 17-year-old girl named Cindy Paulson was discovered running frantically down 6th Avenue in 1983, more than 10 years after Hansen moved to Anchorage. She was barefoot and wearing handcuffs.
Oh gosh.
Paulson, a prostitute, told police her tale after being picked up by a vehicle and brought back to safety. She spoke of being held prisoner by a man who had bound her to his car with handcuffs, threatened her with a gun, and taken her to his home where he had chained her by the neck. Before attempting to board a plane and fly her to his cabin in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, roughly 35 miles north of Anchorage, the man repeatedly raped and tormented her. Paulson was able to flee when the man was getting ready to take off the plane, leaving her shoes behind as proof. The kidnapper's description was spot on for Robert Hansen. Paulson even explained his stammer and name of his aircraft.
Oh wow. Good for her.
Yeah. Police were still hesitant to arrest him, though. The neighborhood baker, after all, was well liked in the neighborhood despite the history of legal issues.
He's already been arrested for raping and kidnapping, and now they're like, oh, raping and kidnapping. He's just so well liked.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. He acknowledged that he had met the girl, but he insisted that she was setting him up because he had turned down her outrageous demands. He was freed after explaining to authorities the solid alibi he had, which a friend had given him. State troopers in Alaska were convinced a serial killer was on the loose.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you're
that
mad.
You just let on the loose.
I know. And I bet that friend feels like terrible.
Yeah, because he probably was just like, oh, he didn't do it. Unless his friend's a douche too. I don't know.
Douche canoe. My mom died laughing when you said douche canoe. And then I had to tell her that it was my word first.
Douche canoe?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been saying that since college.
Yeah, but oh man. I thought I had introduced a word to you.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, don't. Anyways, my mom says douche canoe now.
That's awesome.
He loves it.
I'm also partial to ass hat.
I love ass hat. Ass hat's the best.
It's a good one. I do enjoy that.
So troopers were starting to discover bodies as a result of a number of missing sex workers and dancers. Hansen was a leading suspect after 2 bodies and 223 round casings were like .223. I don't know what that is. Isn't that caliber?
Yeah. Yeah.
223 caliber round casings were found in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley. Sorry, I'm pronouncing that wrong. But the police required evidence. Due to this, the FBI became involved, including now retired FBI agent John Douglas. And he was the one that contributed to the development of the field of criminal profiling and whose story is depicted in the Netflix series Mindhunter.
Oh, who
Yeah.
is played by,
Oh, Jonathan Groff.
I love him.
I love him. Oh, I love him so much.
I know he's great.
I couldn't watch the show though. The first episode was just way too much.
Really, I tried to get into it because it's right up my alley.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't, I'm gonna give it another shot, but
I couldn't do it. It was way too violent.
have you watched the new Jeffrey Dahmer documentary yet?
No, and I don't want to.
It's
I
a
don't want
lot.
to because the victims' families said that they did not authorize.
Yeah, I saw that after I watched it because I literally watched it as soon as it came out. Like I binged the whole thing and then I saw that and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But I do think they did a really good job of focusing on the victims and their lives. More so than a lot of documentaries about infamous people do. So I do
Yeah.
think they did that.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate that they do it without permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok and this girl was saying that she watched it because of how morbid it was supposed to be, but then they didn't include any of the morbid things in it. And she was wearing Jeffrey Dahmer earrings.
Ew. I hate
Yeah.
people that romanticize
Yeah.
serial killers. Like, I mean, we definitely are part of that whole true crime issue where people are like really enthralled in it. And I know I am. But I don't like it when people romanticize them or like
No.
act like fans of them. They're horrible people. They did horrible things. Like,
Mhm.
it's not okay.
I feel like we try and focus on the victims though a lot of the time,
Yeah.
while also indicating what happened.
Yeah.
But I know that we try and like talk more about the victims in
Yeah.
any case. So
For sure. For sure.
yeah.
It's just the documentary itself I found very uncomfortable. It's
Hmm.
supposed to be,
Yeah.
because he did uncomfortable, horrible, horrible things.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Based on the facts of the case and the wounds on the collected bodies, Douglas created a psychological profile of the murderer. And it's so freaking cool because he's very accurate.
Oh,
It's so wild to me how they do this stuff.
I love it when I was just listening to one where it was like the beginning stages of FBI profiling
Mhm.
and they were not close at all.
Oh
So that
no.
I like to hear when they're close.
According to his hypothesis, the murderer was a skilled hunter with poor self esteem who had previously been rejected by women. And he
Hmm.
also likely had a stutter.
Wow.
I don't know how you get that out of just basic evidence, but
Yeah, interesting.
there is no denying that Robert Hansen matched the description almost completely,
Yeah.
despite the fact that he had previously been absolved. He also had a lodge in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, and he also had a bush plane.
Of course.
Soon after, the authorities had a warrant to examine his houses, his car, and his plane. The results astounded them. Nearly too gruesome to comprehend the horror that Robert Hansen's victims had to go through. Hansen was a well-liked businessman in Anchorage who was skilled with a bow. And he even set a few bow hunting records, and the den in his house was filled with hunting trophies and animals mounted on the walls. Nobody was aware that he had also been amassing trophies from a different kind of kill for more than 10 years.
Ugh.
According to Glenn Floth, a trooper who assisted in putting Robert behind bars, his victims initially included any women who caught his eye, but he quickly learned that strippers and prostitutes were harder to track and less likely to be missed. He would abduct the women, and he would either fly them out to his cabin in the deep Alaskan forest on his personal bush plane, or he would drive them.
Mm.
He threatened the women into keeping quiet by threatening to rape them and bring them back to town if they didn't put up a fight. However, those who disobeyed had a truly horrible fate. Robert would set the women free into the wild. His preferred spot was along the Nick River.
No.
They might, for a brief while, feel as though they had a possibility of escaping. And so, as they fled for his life, he would hunt them down slowly, much like a wolf would. He would torture the women with his pursuit for hours or even days at a time, using a hunting knife and a .223 caliber Ruger Mini 14 rifle until he found his victim and shot them like game. Which just reminds me of that Supernatural episode. Do you remember that one? It was like really early on. Oh, there were people exactly like this that were.
Oh, yeah, that's been a popular like theme in horror
It's
movies and
awful.
yeah. There's a book about it too, like a really famous book where like the rich people hunt.
I think I mentioned the book.
Do you? Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. The 2013 film Frozen Ground, which starred Nicolas Cage as the Alaskan state trooper looking into the murders, and John Cusack as Robert Hansen.
No, I love John Cusack. He can't play this douche canoe
Wink, wink.
for Jessica's mom. But for real, I love John Cusack.
I know. Yeah, so that movie was based off of all of this shit.
Ugh.
Police discovered a local aviation map when examining the butcher baker's house. It was concealed in the bed's headboard. The locations where he killed and buried his victims were marked with little X's. A few of the X marks corresponded to locations where police had discovered bodies. There were a total of 24.
Oh my gosh.
Douglas had additionally predicted that the murderer would keep mementos from his victims in his psychological profile of the criminal. Sure enough, investigators discovered a cache of jewelry in the basement of Hansen's house. A necklace from one of the victims was also found in one of the collections.
Mm.
When confronted with the evidence in 1984, Hansen admitted to murdering 17 women and raping 30 more over a 12-year period.
Oh my gosh. So did he like keep what he said, like if they didn't fight back, he really did let them go or not?
I'm assuming he did, and that's why there was only 17 murders and over 30 rapes.
Okay.
I'm assuming he let the raped ones go.
Ugh.
Right? Because obviously he was capable of killing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that those were the ones that he unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, but also unfortunately for their mental psyche, let go.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 1984, Robert Hansen was sentenced to 461 years plus life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow.
He died in 2014 while incarcerated at Spring Creek Correctional Center in Seward, Alaska. As a part of a plea bargain, the butcher baker was only charged with 4 of the 17 murders he confessed to, despite the fact that some believe he murdered more than 20 women.
Wow.
In exchange for the reduced sentence, Robert Hansen agreed to help police locate the remaining bodies on his kill map. Unfortunately, 5 of the bodies have yet to be discovered, and Hansen took the secret of their location to his grave.
Those poor families.
Yeah. So that's my story.
That was awful.
Sorry.
But thank you. It was very interesting.
You're welcome. Do you got any jokes for me?
I
Wow,
do.
going through puberty?
I guess so. I got Halloween ones. I'm gonna do Halloween ones all season.
Ooh, okay.
What do you call two witches sharing an apartment?
Two witches sharing an apartment?
Yeah.
Broke.
Broommates.
Cute.
Let's see.
Wow.
What do ghosts wear when their eyesight gets blurred?
Binoculars?
Spookticles.
Ah. Binoculars. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Oh gosh.
God. All right. Well,
Oh, that's all I have. Do you have any?
nope.
Okay. Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And if you'd like to rate and review us, you can do so on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, since we haven't plugged it in forever, because we're really awful at this.
Yes, we are.
We have an email. It's historiesandmysteries515@gmail.com. If you want to send us stories or suggestions, just anything.
Yeah. We love to hear from you.
Yeah, we love everybody. All of our new listeners.
Yay.
We really appreciate everybody. So
Yeah, we
thank
do.
you.
Yeah. And we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.